Hi, my name is Phil Olson, and this is WinMoJo.co. Okay, today we're going to be talking about installing Windows 8 in a virtual environment. For those of you that don't know what a virtual environment is, this is probably going to be a little more advanced. I'll give you a very high-level definition of that. The virtual machine or a virtual environment is a space in your computer in which you can emulate a particular software or a particular operating system in an environment that is contained away from your normal installed OS. So the opportunity here for us today is that I don't know about you guys, but I don't have multiple PCs laying around where I can download the Microsoft Windows 8 trial and check it out without completely either having to back up my system, install Windows 8 and then restore my system later, or buy a second hard drive and boot off that hard drive on my system. So this gives you a really good opportunity to test out the new software in a environment that's running in your existing OS. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need for this, it's pretty obvious, is the Windows Developer Preview download. So if you go out to Bing or Google and you search for Windows 8 Developer Preview, it'll pretty much end you up on this page at some point. There are several flavors here that you can download. If you have a 64-bit version of Windows 7, I'm going to recommend that you get the Windows Developer Preview 64-bit. If you're running the 32-bit, you'll have to go with the 32-bit. You'll notice there's two different flavors of the 64-bit as well. This one up here, it primarily deals with all the SDK stuff for the Visual Studio 2011 or Visual Studio 11 rather, and then some of the other different development tools. If you're not a developer, probably not going to interest you, so I would recommend you go with the second one. Or again, if you're on 32-bit, you're going to go with this one. I've already downloaded these. Now, you would think that you could use the Microsoft Virtual Machine that you may or may not have already downloaded to run Virtual XP. If you haven't downloaded Virtual XP, we'll do another segment on Virtual XP at another time. But it's a pretty interesting way of running XP on your Windows 7 machine, and same concept in a virtual environment. So for today, we're going to need a tool. It's called VirtualBox. VirtualBox is actually a tool that you can download for free. And you're going to go to virtualbox.org, and you're going to click on Downloads. After you click on Downloads, you're going to want to go after this one here. This is the VirtualBox 414. For Windows hosts. Now, obviously, if you come to this page and there's a later version, a newer version, you're going to want that one. But for our sake, we're going to be using the VirtualBox 414. I've already downloaded that, and I've already installed it. So when you first open it up, or after you're done installing it, and it opens up to the main screen, you're going to have this window here. Now, for starters, you're going to click New, and this is the new Virtual Machine Wizard. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here that looks pretty intimidating. We're going to stick to the vanilla install here so that makes things as easy as possible. For the name, I'm going to put Windows 8. You can put anything you want. And again, you don't have to hit Shift to get an 8. As you can see, I did there. It thinks it's pretty intuitive. When I typed Windows 8, it selected Windows 8, but I want Windows 8 64-bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Next. Now this is going to ask me how much of my physical memory do I want to dedicate to this virtual machine. I'm going to give you a couple schools of thought here. Windows 8 64-bit really recommends you have 2 gig of space. That's going to be half of my physical installed memory. As you can see here, I have 4 gig of memory. Later on, this tool is going to give us a warning about the fact that I'm choosing half of my available memory. Actually, I haven't had any problems in doing this, but you will get the warning in a little bit. You'll see it. I'm going to recommend, as a rule of thumb, that if you have 2 gig installed, you use 1 gig. If you have 8 gig installed, you stick with the 2 gig level. So anything above 4 gig, just stick with the 2 gig level. You're going to be fine for just previewing this OS. This is not going to be your primary OS. I don't think you need to throw a lot of memory at it. If you got 12 gig and you want to throw 6 gig at it, be my guest. But we're going to stick with 2. We're going to stick here. Now, look at this. The recommended size for startup disk is 20 gig. That is not an accident. This is the recommended gigabytes for the Windows 8 install. So we're going to go ahead and leave that alone. We're going to leave startup disk checked and create a new hard disk. We're not trying to use an existing virtual space. Stick with the VDI, the virtual disk image. You don't want to mess with this. That's fine as well. You're going to go with Next. Dynamically allocated or a fixed size. Stick with dynamically allocated. Again, we're trying to stick with the most vanilla versions here. If you want to dig in a little deeper, there's probably plenty of tutorials and help files that come with the VirtualBox tool to tell you the difference between these. This dynamically allocated will allow the space to expand as needed should we install a bunch of stuff on there. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but we'll leave it at the 20 gig and we'll leave it dynamically allocated. This is going to show all the information that we've put in already. Windows 8, again, we're using 20 gigabytes of space. And here we go. Next, again, summary, and we're going to create that space. Again, the summary again. I don't know why you have to do this twice, but you create it again. It's kind of like, are you sure? Now, okay, this will show us that we've got Windows 8 as a virtual space installed within the Oracle VMware. And basically what we're going to have to do now is we're going to have to go into the settings. So we're going to click on this once, and then you're going to go to settings. You can dig through all the settings here. It's kind of interesting. And look, here's that memory issue on the system page. You have assigned more than 50% of your computer's memory. Again, I ignored it. Storage is the next stop for us. Now, on the storage page, you're going to click on the IDE controller, and then you're going to go down to this empty. Once you've clicked on the empty, you're going to click on this little CD over here, and you're going to choose Virtual CD DVD Disk File. Now that's going to open up. It opened up right to the folder where I have my Windows 8 ISO files downloaded. It won't do that for you. You'll have to navigate to wherever those were. I've already done this once, so it's remembering the last thing I did. We're going to go with the 64-bit. I've downloaded them both, as you can see, but the 64-bit is the one I want. I'm going to click open, and then I'm going to click OK. Now, here's where the magic happens, and this probably is going to take a little while. We're going to click the Start button here, and sorry that window opens a little off the screen here. Just click OK to all these messages that pop up. I'm going to scroll this up here. There we go. Alrighty, again, this is going to take up a little more space than I've got. It's loading the files here. I have a section of my screen captured so that I can show you guys this. I don't have my full screen captured so that I don't blow you guys out on having to read the screen with a magnifying glass. This is starting the install of the developer preview. As you'll see, the VirtualBox sizes down to the space that we're working in. It's going to start off with the install questions here. Again, you're going to stick with the vanilla answers here, especially for the sake of this demo. I'm not going to go into the gruesome details. Install now. Let's see what we get here. And this is going to take a little bit. Once we get to the actual screen where it's kind of just chugging along, I will pause the video and then come back once we've actually made it to the space where we sign in. You're going to go ahead and accept the license agreement. I mean, if you really want, go ahead and read it. I won't. I'll just take for granted that if I want to use this, I don't have a choice. This says upgrade your version. We're not going to do that. This is where we're going to go off target. We're going to go to custom. Then we're going to select this allocated space, which you'll see is 20 gig like we said it would be. We're going to hit next. And this is where it's going to chug away. So I'm going to let this thing go through its process, and I will be back with you guys shortly. Okay, once you've jumped through all the hoops and done the restarts and all that good stuff that the Windows 8 install recommends, you're going to end up at this screen here. And we're going to go ahead and set up our account here. I'm just going to use the good old-fashioned WinMoJo name. And then we're going to hit next. We're going to use Express Settings here because I think that's going to be just fine for our needs. And then you go ahead and go into the custom ones if you decide that you want to play around with those. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to stick with the defaults. Let's see, for our email address, we're going to just use the WinMoJo at live.com account. You guys can use your emails. Please don't bother using ours. It won't do you any good. And then it's going to take a second here for it to go out and realize that I already have an existing account with Windows Live. And it's going to beg me for my password here in a moment. Okay, so let's get our password in here. So let's go ahead and get our password put in here. It's a new password for me, so be kind and give me a second. Alrighty, and this is going to sync up to our live account now. This is going to go through and prepare the PC for our initial launch. I'm going to go ahead and pause here. I'll come back in and continue with you guys once it's done this. Okay, here we go at the brand new Windows 8 desktop. This is their new start menu. It basically is not quite your desktop, but it kind of acts as your desktop. It's confusing. It's a new way of thinking of things. If you're a tablet user, this won't be too terribly hard to understand, but you've got this left to right scrolling page of icons that seem to kind of fit together. You can read more about this particular layout that they've been doing, but it brings you things like your favorite weather quotes, your stocks, your control panel, your Windows Explorer, your Internet Explorer. If you click on this desktop icon down here, it'll take you to the desktop that you're more familiar with, but note that when I click the start button, it goes back to here. So that's something to think about, and something that you're going to want to basically kind of get used to and play around with. So this will give you guys a chance to play around with Windows 8 without destroying your Windows 7 install. You don't have to worry about backing up any of your files or any of that good stuff. If you screw this install up, you can always reinstall it again. It's really super easy. Everything should run virtually right in this window. We'll go into another video at a later date to discuss the differences between Windows 8 and Windows 7. But this will give us a good starting point. You'll probably be seeing this virtual install again in future videos as we'll be exploring Windows 8 and talking more about it. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I hope that gives you a chance to really play around with the Windows 8 tool without having to worry about hosing up your Windows 7 install. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at winmojo@live.com. We'll be happy to answer any questions that we can, and we're taking suggestions for things you guys would like to see demonstrated or learn about. Please don't hesitate to send those in. On behalf of WinMoJo.co, I'm Phil Olson. I hope you guys have a great week.